Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Enterprise Technology Podcast. I am your host, John Perez, and today we're going to talk about a very serious topic and the madness that is going down in our country and how it relates to socially conscious technology companies that you may or may not be dealing with. Some of America's biggest companies are responding to public pressure this week to donate to anti-racism campaigns and publicly stand by the black community following the death of George Floyd in police custody. Companies like Apple, Facebook, Amazon, Verizon, Microsoft, and others are promising millions of dollars to support civil rights groups and to promote equality in our world. But how many of these companies are actually committed to the cause? Is this just something temporary to create better brand awareness about these companies? Or is this truly genuine? And in this episode, we're going to sort through all that noise and highlight examples of companies who've always supported socially conscious programs prior to the George Floyd incident. And we also highlight some new companies that we think are genuine about their intent to support social justice. So the next time you consider a large software purchase from any of these companies or any company that's not on the list, ask yourself some of the following questions. Am I doing business with a corporation that has a sole purpose of just making a profit and increasing shareholder value? Is the company committed to socially conscious programs that make the world better and our environment better and our humanity better? Do you want to give millions of dollars to a company like this that really has nothing to do with improving our world? And what will working with people at organizations like this be like? Companies are no longer content to just do well. Today, many businesses have to make it their mission to do good. Corporate social responsibility refers to this growing practice of for-profit organizations that align their profits with relevant causes and social good programs. Social responsibility, beyond making the world a better place, also benefits companies in their recruiting and consumer marketing efforts. The Nielsen Global Survey of Corporate Social Responsibility found that more than half of the people surveyed are willing to pay more for products and services provided by companies that are committed to positive social and environmental impact, and 2/3 would rather work for such a company. So not only does having such a program improve the bottom line, but you can truly retain great employees by having responsible programs. If you're unable to give a solid answer or examples in your company when someone asks, what is the corporate social responsibility programs you have, then check out some of the following programs many of these companies have done and use this as inspiration to work across sectors in your organization and departments to partner with companies who actually care and to institute programs in your company that can promote a better employee environment as well as bottom line profits for the entire organization. So let's go down the list of some of these companies. We've recently saw everyone come out and donate to positive causes, addressing civil liberties and injustice. But there are a couple of companies that I have to start with that have been doing this even prior to the George Floyd incident. And one company that we all know and are fully aware of is Google. Besides being the most popular search engine, Google has achieved 100% renewable energy targets in 2017 and is now the largest corporate renewable energy purchaser on the planet. And if that wasn't enough to earn a spot at the top corporate social responsibility totem pole, the company provides many grants for many causes. And prior to this Floyd incident, they've always contributed to what they call the Equal Justice Initiative, EJI. A lot of companies this past week have recently donated to this, but the Equal Justice Initiative is something that Google has been donating to for a long time before these incidents. The Equal Justice Initiative is committed to ending mass incarceration and excessive punishment in the United States, to challenge racial and economic injustice, and to protecting the basic human rights for most vulnerable people in American society today. Google is known for their grants in this area, along with their stance on equality and diversity in America. And just this past Sunday, Google CEO Sundar Pichai spoke out and talked about the George Floyd incident in a public statement. He indicated that he stands in support of racial equality and all those who search for it. And for those who may or may not know, he is an Indian-American CEO of the technology giant and has done a pretty good job for shareholders, investors, as well as for employees and just improving the world. So big respect to Sundar and the Google team. I do know some employees at Google. It is a very diverse team, very diverse environment. No company is perfect, but they certainly have been one of the few companies that has decided years ago to support racial equality and solidarity with all communities, not just the African American community, but just everyone. They've recently changed their YouTube homepages as well as Google homepages this past week. They are one company that I think we all know, but have been committed, to the causes. Now on to some other big companies that donated to the cause this week and have made some public statements. Let's talk about Microsoft and Apple. It's something not Satya Nadella said this past week. He's the CEO of Microsoft. He said, "I know it's not enough to just have empathy for those impacted, for the communities who are experiencing this hate firsthand, who are scared for their safety and for their loved ones." Microsoft has also made a ton of donations to civil liberties causes this past week. And one of the things I do want to mention that, Microsoft has been doing for the last few years, they've always donated to positive causes, but one of the more interesting programs they have is Microsoft's AI for Accessibility grants. This is an initiative that provides free software and services and Microsoft Azure credits and cash for companies that are looking to adapt AI to the needs of those with disabilities. So if you have a product or a set of services that tailors to specific people who have disabilities, this grant will give you money, free software, and free Azure credits. And I think this is, again, just an example of a tech giant that's really doing some positive things, even prior to this George Floyd incident. The company just announced 10 more million in funding for this, and they also have an education program called Objective Ed for the blind. And so just in doing a ton of great things for the world and humanity, I really want to recognize Microsoft for always staying positive and committed to these kind of causes. And despite what just happened this past week with George Floyd. Let's also not ignore what Bill and Melinda Gates have been doing with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and what they're doing, to tackle issues with COVID. They spent quite a lot of time on it, and many have heard that Bill left the chairman executive position at Microsoft to focus full time on resolving things for the COVID crisis. Another worthy mention and company that also needs to get some recognition and that we all know. But again, pointing them out because they've always been committed to these kind of, causes or these social causes. That is Apple. And Apple CEO Tim Cook this week recently stressed that right now there is pain deeply etched in the soul of the nation and in hearts of millions. And he's encouraging everybody to stand together, stand up for one another, and recognize the fear, hurt, and outrage rightly provoked by the senseless killing of George Floyd and a much longer history of racism. He said this all in a memo to employees. As many of you know, Tim Cook is one of the first openly gay CEOs of a public company. He's absolutely doing a great job at his company and really increasing shareholder value while also committing himself and his company to social programs. He also closed that memo with saying that at Apple, our mission has always and will be able to create technology that empowers people to change the world for the better. So if you think about the mission of a company and you think about what's happening in the world right now, there's really tight alignment between what Apple is promoting in terms of their products and services, as well as what they're committed to doing in the social causes space and the social responsibility programs. One last mention, again, a lot of companies are coming out, donating millions, but doesn't necessarily mean that these companies are all going to be committed to these causes. I've pointed out Apple, Microsoft, as well as Google, because they've been doing these programs way before this George Floyd, incident occurred. But there are one or two other companies that I want to recognize, and certainly Salesforce.com has done a really good job just to promote diversity and equality in pay, across every employee in their organization. If you've seen Mark Benioff really stand up and do his pitch at Dreamforce every year, he's committed to diversity. He's committed to pay equality. He's committed to changing the world for the better. And he donates 1% of his company's time every year to positive causes and nonprofits. And so I do want to mention them because I do believe they are committed to this and they are genuinely doing it. They're not jumping on the bandwagon, like many companies are doing now by donating millions just to get some exposure. Another company that I just recently learned about today was Cisco. Cisco not only donated some millions, but their CEO, publicly went live on Facebook and YouTube to acknowledge the George Floyd situation, to acknowledge their donations. But they actually recently postponed their virtual summit that they were scheduled to have June 2nd. So I think what that says is that they're committed to an equal workplace, a workplace that encourages respect, and they've even canceled a huge virtual summit that they normally have every year because of where America is at today in its particular place. And finally, I want to make this a regular series to feature companies who are practicing social responsibility. And if your company is not doing it, it's never too late. Use this episode as inspiration to start your program at your company. I know at my company, we're doing small things at CRM Experts Online to promote a more inclusive work culture. We've started hiring diverse staff. Our pay scale at our company is equal for both men and women in our organization. We encourage our employees to spend 20 hours a year helping or donating their time to a social cause. We have internship programs with the local high school and colleges. We provide free training and apprenticeship programs to nonviolent individuals with criminal records who need a second chance. And we've also supported a lot of local businesses here during COVID-19 here in New York. And while there's a lot more we can do, we are committed to equality for all and a better tomorrow. It's really natural for all of us to feel helpless in light of the events that we're seeing in the news today. But we do have to overcome this. Each of us can embrace the words that Dr. King spoke in a sermon in Montgomery, Alabama in 1957. He said, "We must discover the redemptive power of love. And when we discover that, we will be able to make of this old world a new world." So let's start this now. Start making a change in your organization. And thank you for listening.